Welcome back to DPSN. I'm Dylan Oliver, and last night the Golden State Warriors won another championship, making it 4 championships won by them in the last 8 years. I decided today I'm going to take a look back at the 6 games in this series to see exactly why the Golden State Warriors were able to beat the Boston Celtics. The first reason the Golden State Warriors were able to beat the Celtics in this series is because the Boston Celtics were careless with the basketball. Coming into this NBA Finals series, the Boston Celtics were 1-4 when they committed 16 plus turnovers in a game during the postseason. The Boston Celtics had 3 of the 6 games where they committed 16 plus turnovers, losing all 3 of those games. In crucial games too, games 5 and 6, they committed 18 turnovers in game 5 and 22 turnovers in game 6. The whole series, they averaged 16 turnovers per game. So they finished this postseason run 1-7 in games when they commit 16 plus turnovers. Turning the ball over that much is just not a good setup for success. Clearly, as we can see with these Celtics, losing 7 of the 8 games they committed this many turnovers. So, for the first reason on why the Golden State Warriors are once again champions, it has to be because the Boston Celtics could not take care of the ball. Reason number 2 for why the Golden State Warriors won this championship is because the Warriors were the much more physical team in this series. One advantage the Celtics had coming into this game was their size. They had Al Horford, who was 6'9", and Robert Williams, who was 6'9". And now, I'm not going to say they're the tallest centers of all time, but when the Warriors' tallest person out there on the floor for most of the series is 6'6" Draymond Green, the Celtics have to take advantage of that, and they weren't able to because the Warriors were more physical. The Warriors were out there in Game 6 with Steph Curry guarding Al Horford in the paint for some of the possessions, which is just inexcusable for the Celtics not to take advantage of that. And sometimes they did, but sometimes they didn't. It's inexcusable. In these 6 games, the team that scored the most points in the paint won every time except for Game 6. In Game 1, the Celtics won 34 points in the paint compared to the Warriors only having 26. Game 2, the Warriors won with 40 points in the paint compared to the Celtics having only 24. Game 3, another Celtics win where they dominated points in the paint, putting up 52. Then in Game 4, the Warriors had more points in the paint with 38 compared to the Celtics 32. In Game 5, the Warriors dominated points in the paint with 50 compared to the Celtics 36. The Celtics should never have been outscored in points in the paint. They had the much bigger team, and this has to be a category the Celtics win if they were going to try and win this finals. Another part that plays into the physicality of the Warriors is the rebounding. In Game 6, the Warriors had more rebounds. In Game 4, the Warriors had more rebounds. Game 1, it was a tie. In Game 2, the Celtics only won by 1 rebound. In the series total, the Celtics only had 9 more total rebounds than the Warriors through the 6 games. This is also terrible for the Celtics, since they had the 2 biggest players in the entire series. The carelessness and the lack of physicality on the boards and in the paint really cost the Celtics and helped out the Warriors. But my third reason here is probably the biggest reason for the Warriors' championship victory. And that is having the big time players on your team making plays. Jason Tatum was supposed to be the best player on the Celtics, and he was not great in this series. Jason Tatum only had 21.5 points per game in this series, with 7 assists and 6.8 rebounds, which isn't bad, but the 21.5 points per game is unacceptable, especially when the Warriors' second or third option, Andrew Wiggins, is out there averaging 18.3 with 8.8 rebounds, and though he's the one guarding Jason Tatum. 21.5 points per game from your number one option, Jaylen Brown scored more points than him, which is unacceptable if you're saying Jason Tatum's the number one. The gap between the two teams' best players is really what ended up costing the Celtics in the end. Curry being able to average 31.2 points per game compared to Jason Tatum's 21.5, there was just no match between the two of them. It really showed how much better the Warriors were than the Celtics. I'm not saying the Celtics were fraudulent or anything. They were still great, had a great season, great run, but the moment was too big for them, and Jason Tatum could not show up and perform when he needed to. In Game 6, Jason Tatum only put up 13 points and shot 33.3% from the field. He put up 2 total points in the second half. In the biggest game of his career, he had arguably the worst game of the series when they needed him the most. Jaylen Brown was the better player over Jason Tatum throughout this entire series, and that is just something that cannot happen when you're in the NBA Finals. Your best player needs to show up and be the best player, and that's what happened with the Warriors, and it didn't happen with the Celtics, which is once again why the Warriors are the NBA champions. And for all those Celtics fans out there saying, oh no, it was Celtics versus the refs, oh the Warriors shouldn't have won, stop it. The Celtics had 31 more free throw attempts than the Warriors throughout the entire series. So I don't want to hear about the Celtics being screwed over by the refs. The Warriors had 31 less attempts. The Warriors were just the better team. They play better together. They have the chemistry. They are more physical. They have the better three-point shooters. The Warriors are just better in every aspect of the game. That is now all I have for today's video. Once again, congratulations to Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, all the Warriors over there, Andrew Wiggins. That's all I've got today. I'm Dylan Oliver, and I will see you next time.
Bye.